Gamecock fans. It's the Carolina Crowline. And here's your host, Tyler Garrett.
What's up, everybody? I'm Tyler Garrett, the host of the Carolina Crowline. Glad to be with you here on the 2012-2013 edition of the college football season. It feels so good to be back in the chair bringing Gamecock Nation all the news and notes about Carolina football. It feels like it has been forever, but we are just a few short days away of kicking things off. We got a power-packed hour of news and notes to give you. We've got a James Franklin interview, that's right, the first game against the Vanderbilt Commodores. We're going to take a look at some impact freshmen, some new faces and new step-up guys for the South Carolina football team, play a little bit of over-under, and break down the game against Vanderbilt. All that on the Carolina Crowline.
Want to hear the sound of hassle-free traveling?
All aboard!
Amtrak takes the hassle out of traveling to over 500 destinations. You can stretch out in a spacious seat, relax in a sleeping car, and enjoy a hot meal in the dining car. And for those who want to kick back and take in the scenery, go right ahead. For everything you get on Amtrak, the one thing you won't get is this. So whether you're going to a family reunion or an away game, make it a whole lot nicer on Amtrak. Book your trip today at Amtrak.com or call 1-800-USA-RAIL.
All aboard!
Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
We scoop the boot, dutycalls.com, when nobody else will do it, dutycalls.com, to make that dog poop go away, call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to dutycalls.com now.
DOODYCALLS, dutycalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number one and number two. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new patient special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove.
All right, welcome into the program. This is the first Carolina Crowline at the dawn of a new football season. It sounds so good to be saying those words, and I hope it sounds good to be actually hearing those words out there on Gamecock Nation. We are coming to you live for the first time ever on Vocal.com. You can catch us streaming live on the website. If you want to go ahead and jump on the phone lines, it is 803-450-0086 to go ahead and get you in the Carolina Crowline, and you can go ahead and hit me with your questions or discuss some of the points that I'm bringing up along the show. You can always email us, carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com, or you can go ahead and tweet to us. It's at Carolina Crowline, at Carolina Crowline, hashtag Crowline, and you can go ahead and like us on Facebook. Pretty much all the mediums that you can possibly think of. We are trying to bring Carolina Crowline to you. If you can't listen to the show live or it's not available in your local market on the radio, you can always go into iTunes and download the podcast edition of Carolina Crowline free of charge. That's right, free of charge. I had to pull some strings, but I'm doing that for you right here on the Carolina Crowline. All right, let's get to it. The team has been practicing. Fall practice is starting to wrap up. The practices have closed. I don't know if you were able to get out to some of the open practices, but several new faces along the defense and the offense that we're going to mention here today. I'm going to go ahead and talk about some impact freshmen, some of the new guys that are on campus that may have something to say about this season before it is all said and done, and as well as some guys that have been on campus for a while but are now finally getting their time to go ahead and shine on the football field. We're going to discuss the 5 guys I've selected for the new stars of the football team, or step-up guys, if you will. We're going to hear a little bit from Brandon Shell as well later in the program, some of his thoughts about being the starter, the new starter at left tackle, being that main protector for Connor Shaw, and what it's like to go up against Jadeveon Clowney on a day-in and day-out basis. We're also going to play a little bit of over-under. I've got some stats that I think will be interesting to Gamecock Nation out there, over-under on some of our more popular and more important players on the team, and then we're finally going to get a chance to start to break down Vanderbilt. Gamecocks take on Vanderbilt this Thursday, 7 o'clock, ESPN, national televised game. And I tell you what, Vanderbilt is really pushing all their chips to the center of the table with this game. The Vanderbilt hype machine is in full effect. I tell you what, James Franklin, head coach, second-year head coach now, is really a media darling. He's taking every opportunity to pub his Vanderbilt program, whether it be social media, whether it be special appearances out there in Nashville, whether it be on YouTube, just trying to bring the Vanderbilt program and rebranding the Vanderbilt football team and really trying to forget about the Vanderbilt of the past, your daddy's Vanderbilt, if you will. So this is going to be a big-time test for South Carolina right off the bat. You don't want to sleep on these Vanderbilt Commodores, and we're going to listen to James Franklin a little bit later in the program and break down some of the guys that are returning for Vanderbilt and some of the guys that they've lost as well. But before we get into all that, South Carolina, as a football program, I believe you will agree, is in the greatest state it has ever been in. This is the golden age of South Carolina football, coming off the 11-win season last year, coming off the SEC East Championship the year before in the appearance in the SEC Championship game, the dominating, convincing Capital One Bowl victory over Nebraska last year. There's nowhere to go for this South Carolina program but up if you want to continue the momentum. One thing I believe Steve Spurrier really has to be careful with is taking a step back here this year. But when you take a look at how the South Carolina program has evolved, if you are a fan of the South Carolina Gamecocks, I'm sure you're well aware of that brand new gigantic scoreboard over the student section this year. Really, really going to be bringing a special element to the game day experience. Not only that, but I've heard fans over the years from visiting programs talking about how just boring and drab and industrial the area around the stadium is. A lot of warehouses and things like that down there by the stadium. They've completely demolished the farmers market. They've put in a new farmers market area with parking, brand new facilities. Their new outdoor and indoor practice facility is going to go back there within 2 years. They have a new the Garnet Brickway there, well, the new Garnet Walk, where the football team is going to come through the fairgrounds with the band and the cheerleaders and a lot of fanfare. Carolina fans should expect a totally new experience when they come down to Williams-Brice Stadium on September 8th for the first home game against East Carolina. It's just going to be, it's 180 degrees different than what it used to be, especially if you're a Carolina fan that's been a fan of the program now for, I would say, 10 or 15 years. Even just the stadium improvements have just been night and day to what it's been, and I just can't wait to get into that stadium. I know y'all can't too. Just is going to be completely different, completely new. This is really a new era of Gamecock football. It's gotten to a level of hype and excitement that I don't think it has ever been. South Carolina fans have always been extremely loyal fan base. Remember, they always used to say during that, season when they were 0 for 12, they still sold out every single game. Like that was something to be proud of. Like that was something you could hang your hat on. But now we're winning. We're 11-1. We have brand new facilities. We're recruiting the best players in the nation, the best players in the state. People are singling out South Carolina as a place that they want to come play for, and audience and fans that they want to play in front of. So we're reaching a fever pitch here in terms of South Carolina and the expectations for the season. And we're not talking about winning 7 or 8 games now. We're talking about going to the SEC East, and we're talking about knocking off the upper echelon of the SEC, the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Georgias. We've now beaten Florida 2 years in a row, Tennessee 2 years in a row, Georgia 2 years in a row, and we're looking to make it 3 years in a row for all of those programs. Beaten Clemson 3 years in a row, beaten number 1 ranked Alabama 2 years ago here in Columbia. Well, we're going to get our shot again to make some waves in the SEC and in the nation when we go to Baton Rouge and visit Florida, when Georgia, who is the Eastern representative in many people's minds of the SEC, comes to Columbia on October 6th and wants to try and see if they can get out of here with a victory. South Carolina has become a dangerous place to play. We have a true home field advantage, and that has only gotten stronger with the commitment that Steve Spurrier, the departed athletic director Eric Hyman, new athletic director Ray Tanner, and all those guys have started to create around here. And I think Gamecock fans need to do their part, sell out every single state, every single game, come down early and often, get loud, get rowdy, of course be responsible. That's my public service announcement. Please be responsible when tailgating at Williams-Brice Stadium or any Carolina football game for that matter. But come out in full force, because I tell you, this is going to be a very, very exciting season. Steve Spurrier has raved about it. He's been chirping in the offseason about some of the other programs taking shots at Ole Miss and Georgia and Nick Saban and Alabama. You can tell when Steve Spurrier is feeling good before a football season. And if you ask me, he's never felt better. So I'm extremely excited about what we've got coming up here for this football season. And we're really going to jump in with it with both feet when we come back from this very, very, very short break, because I know you're dying to talk Carolina football, and I am dying to talk Carolina football as well. So when we come back from this break, we're going to hear a little bit of Brandon Shell and get into some impact freshmen right here on the Carolina Crowline.
Black and garnet is all you see. Pride and ambition and Gamecock traditions, yeah, we're all one big family. Carolina, sweet Carolina, yeah, I'm proud of where I'm from.
All right, welcome back into the program. I'm your host, Tyler Garrett. Glad to be with you here on this inaugural edition, 2012-2013 edition of the Carolina Crowline. We are getting it kicked off, Gamecock Nation. I cannot wait. 4 short days, and we'll be surrounded around our flat screens at our living rooms or our local establishments, or those of you that are fortunate enough to actually travel to Vanderbilt for the game in Nashville. I've never been there. I hear Nashville is a heck of a town. Hopefully I'll get up there eventually, but not this time around. We were talking about just some new expectations and facility improvements and upgrades at the top of the program, but now let's talk about some upgrades to the actual football team. I want to go ahead and get into a few of my impact freshmen of the season, and these are guys that are new to the team, and from a depth perspective, you don't typically want to have a lot of impact freshmen because you have a lot of upperclassmen and guys that are ready to step in, and you've built a lot of depth on your football program, and you don't want to have a lot of impact freshmen, guys that come out and break out onto the scene immediately. There are those exceptions like a Jadeveon Clowney and a Marcus Lattimore and guys that you just can't keep off the bench. But overall, those are guys you want to have develop in the weight room, develop mentally with the playbook, and guys that can step onto the field in their sophomore and junior years to contribute to the program. But there are 4 guys in my mind that stick out to me as guys that could potentially have a big impact on the program this year for the 2012 football season. And the number 1 guy on the list, and I think most of you will agree if you follow Carolina football closely, is Shaq Rowland, the wide receiver, 6'1", 173 pounds, right down the road from Lexington, South Carolina. Look, there's no buts about it. Alshon Jeffrey isn't walking through that door. So you're going to need to find that impact guy that can come in and really pick up the slack. We have Ace Sanders, D.L. Moore, and Bruce Ellington are going to be expected to be the starting 3 wide receivers. D.L. Moore, 6'5", 198-pound senior, seems like he has been around forever. He has had some shining moments here in the program, but fairly inconsistent. Ace Sanders has always been the number 2 guy. He's a smaller guy also. He's not that big, tall, lanky receiver. He's a guy that can get open and separate with his speed and his size and his ability to cut quickly. Bruce Ellington, same thing. Another guy, 5'9", 197 pounds, an all-star athlete, but the guy that I think has the most natural talent and ability before he even steps onto that football field from a wide receiver standpoint is going to be Shaq Rowland. I'm interested to see how much of a role he could have here, especially early in the season, if things aren't going quite well, if there is a receiver that hasn't really stepped up and owned that number 1 position, then I would not be surprised for Steve Spurrier or Steve Spurrier Jr. to go ahead and throw the youngster out there to see what he can do in terms of being able to contribute and be that guy that Connor Shaw looks to, that number 1 man right there to start going ahead and making his impact in the Gamecock football team, much in the same way that Alshon Jeffrey did roughly halfway through his freshman season. I believe it was that Kentucky game really had that breakout year. But Shaq Rowland, I think I look to him as a guy that could really have the potential to jump into a starting position there. Another guy, Jarrell Adams, another local kid, South Carolina kid from Scotch Branch High School. He's a big guy. He's basically Jadeveon Clowney on offense when you're talking about Jarrell Adams. 6'6", 224 pounds, just a natural athlete and pass catcher, has been wreaking havoc during fall practice from the tight end position. The only problem I see with Jarrell Adams is you've got some well-established guys in the tight end position. Senior Justice Cunningham, Rory Anderson, who did a lot of good things last year. Is there going to be enough playing time to go around for Jarrell Adams? And I think if you want to get the best talent on the field, you're going to have to find some time for Jarrell Adams. So I expect to see him on the field this year as well. When we move over to the defensive side of the ball, 2 guys that I think could make an impact. Number 1 is Jordan Diggs. He's a kid out of Florida. He's going to be playing that spur position. Demario Jeffrey finally gets his start at linebacker, and then you drop down Devontae Holloman to the spur position, which opens up that spot for that backup spot for Jordan Diggs if he can come in and make an impact and really show that he wants that position bad enough. He's a guy that the coaches have really talked about. He's a big, physical kid. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, just a monster athlete out there. His dad, Shed Diggs, played for the Gamecocks back in the 80s, so a Gamecock legacy. He's a really exciting kid. He's an articulate kid when you've listened to him talk in post-practice interviews, so another kid that I can see being on the field. And the last guy TJ Gurley is also a freshman. TJ out of Florida as well, I believe. Defensive back, 5'10", 183 pounds. We've had so many transfers at the defensive back position, and then when you talk about Akeem Auguste being out indefinitely, you have Marte Maddox, who left the program back in the winter. You have Kadarius Sanders, who also chose to leave the program just a few weeks ago. So all of a sudden, you look up and you have a couple injuries, and that cornerback spot is going to be very, very thin. You have Victor Hampton and Ahmad Christian, that redshirt freshman. Then you have Jimmy Legree, who's going to be that starter that slides up into Akeem's position until he can come back healthy. But then you have TJ Gurley sliding into that fill-in position, that two-deep position. So he's obviously going to get some snaps just because you need to rotate your defensive backs in and out of the game just so you have guys that can stay fresh, and you want to build that depth and experience. So TJ Gurley is a guy that I definitely think is going to be forced into action, whether he likes it or not, whether he's ready or not, or whether the coaches even want to put him in or not, because we've had 2 transfers and an injury to the cornerback position, and all of a sudden, and you've also lost Stephon Gilmore and Marty Marquette. You cannot forget that. So all of a sudden, you are very, very thin at a position, in my opinion, that looked pretty deep as late as last year. So, again, these 4 freshmen are guys that I think you should look for to be impact players here on the Gamecock football team. Shaq Rowland, Jarrell Adams, Jordan Diggs, and TJ Gurley. Coming up here in just a minute on the other side of this break, we're going to get into a little bit of Brandon Shell. You're going to hear my new stars and the step-up guys that have been in the program that are ready to make a name for themselves. If you want to get in on the phone lines, it's 803-450-0086. If you want to catch our next live broadcast of the Carolina Crowline, it will be next Sunday at vocal.com. If you want to go ahead and follow us, you can. It's at Carolina Crowline on Twitter, at Carolina Crowline on Twitter, and you can go ahead and like us on Facebook. If you're not a Facebooker or a tweeter or a internet streamer, you can catch a replay of our broadcast on YouTube. You can download the podcast on iTunes. You can even email us, carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com. So we are worldwide. We are worldwide here at the Carolina Crowline, trying to bring Gamecock news and notes to anybody and everybody that cares and is a member of Gamecock Nation. I tell you what, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I've already got the adrenaline pumping. I've already got my outfit already all laid out for Thursday. It's going to be big time game time for Connor Shaw and Steve Spurrier here for the 2012 season. Stay with us right here on the Carolina Crowline.
Let's pull the 2-seat out, baby. It's wherever you want to go.
Are you a landowner who owns more than 10 acres that's interested in selling timber or pulpwood off your property? Cross Creek Timber is a full-service timber procurement company that buys standing saw timber and pulpwood. They're staffed with professional licensed foresters and fully insured with both workers' comp and general liability insurance. Let Cross Creek Timber develop the appropriate harvesting plan for your property and answer any questions regarding forest management. Call today, 864-517-3620. That's 864-517-3620 for your free woodland evaluation, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com.
Have you heard? Proactive is better than ever. Stay tuned for a 1,000,000-bottle giveaway. Do you have troubled skin, acne? Well, we have great news. With Proactive, your acne can heal, and you can prevent new breakouts from happening. Be one of the first to try it by giving us a call at 1-800-556-2497. Because we're going to let 1,000,000 people try Proactive risk-free and also receive our legendary refining mask and green tea moisturizer free if you call right now. You heard it. Be one of the first to try Better Than Ever Proactive Solution. You'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial, plus a free refining mask and green tea moisturizer. Call 1-800-556-2497. This is our best radio offer. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive plus 2 free extras. Go to getproactive.com or call 1-800-556-2497. That's 1-800-556-2497.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
Hey, sports fans, listen up. If you're a fan of the Gamecocks, the Citadel Bulldogs, or you just simply get chills from the Tigers running down the hill, then CRM Sports has a weekly show just for you. Even if Cocky and the Tiger make your blood boil, then just tune in for a good laugh. Each week, Gamecock fans hear the CRM Sports show Carolina Crowline broadcasting live from downtown Columbia. And Clemson fans enjoy the Clemson Hotline broadcasting live just miles away from their beloved Death Valley. It's fun, independent, objective, and informative talk about your favorite college team. To listen to the various CRM Sports Collegiate Sports Talk podcasts, visit iTunes and search for CRM Sports, and the action-packed shows will be just a free click away. CRM Sports. Check them out in iTunes and get all the inside info on your favorite Southern team. CRM Sports. We know Southern sports.
All right, welcome back into the program. This is the freight train that is Carolina Crowline. You'll be hearing these songs that we are coming back into live on Thursday and Saturday, September 8th against East Carolina. These sounds will be filling the air around Williams-Brice Stadium. Boy, I tell you what, you know, part of me feels like it's been just a couple weeks since our dominating victory over Nebraska in the Capital One Bowl, but another part of me feels like it has been forever, and I am so ready to see South Carolina and Steve Spurrier run out onto that field and start laying some smackdowns on our opponents. And speaking of some guys that are ready to lay some smackdowns on some of our opponents, there's a list of guys that I came up with as guys that have been on the team before, and some of them may have even started before, but these are guys that I'm really looking to have a kind of a breakout year, I guess, if you will. And these are guys on the list that have had some shining moments here or there, but these are guys that are going to need to have big years, in my opinion, if South Carolina is looking to do big things in the 2012-2013 football season. And let me start off with a guy that I think is a no-brainer, and a lot of people are going to say, well, duh. And I'm talking about Jadeveon Clowney. And the reason why I think he's a guy that needs to be a step-up guy, number one is the exit of Melvin Ingram to the first round of the NFL draft. Number two, I think the reason why he needs to be a step-up guy is because now he's going to be the main starter at that position. And he wasn't technically called a starter last year, but he pretty much played the majority of the games. The reason why I think he has an opportunity to have a monster year, number one, we all know how talented he is. And number two, he's had that year to develop, especially mentally with the playbook. Technique-wise, he knows how to read crashing offensive linemen. He knows what he needs to do in terms of gap control against running backs, fullbacks, and quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of zone read teams that we're going to play this year. So these are going to be things that he's had a year of practice doing, and we all know his natural athletic ability is going to take over at times. And I think he really, and not to mention preseason expectations, because he's a lot preseason All-America, preseason All-SEC. So he's a guy that definitely has the expectations there, and you don't want to have a disappointing year a la some defensive ends recently. I'm thinking of the guy from Clemson, Daquan Bowers. He came in. He was the number 1 recruit in America, if I recall correctly, but he kind of went silent there, his sophomore and junior years until he did some good things his senior year, of course, and wound up going in the first round of the NFL draft. But will he shrink under the expectations, or will he be someone that even exceeds expectations? Another guy on the list I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, D.L. Moore. He's another guy that I think it really needs to step up. He's the same body type as Alshon Jeffrey when you talk about that big frame, that big, lanky kind of frame, that 6'5", 200-pound frame. He's a guy that's gotten more consistent with his hands over the years. He's had some exciting moments as a Gamecock, but is he going to be able to be that tall, vertical threat that Alshon has been, that Torrey Gurley has been, those big, tall receivers that we have had? Sidney Rice is another one over the past, 5-8 years or so. Demario Jeffrey, freak of an athlete here from a local kid here from Columbia High School right here in Columbia, South Carolina. He finally gets his time to shine as a starting linebacker, 6'4", 233-pound senior. People talk about his natural athletic ability all the time, but he just hasn't really been able to see the field. You're talking about a former 4-star recruit, a guy that really got exposed last year against during the Arkansas game when Devontae Holloman was injured because they had it was Antonio Allen at the spur position. He got exposed in coverage several times for deep passes and really gashed the South Carolina defense. Now he moves over to his natural spot at linebacker. I'm looking for him just to be a terror there in the defensive backfield. And another guy on the list, Kenny Miles. I really think the reason why I have him as a step-up guy and a new star is because Kenny hasn't really done too much since his 1,000-yard season a couple years back. And I think now, with Lattimore coming off that injury, they're really going to try and scale back his workload. So when Lattimore comes out of the game, I'm looking for Kenny to be that replacement player that is also a threat out of the backfield. Not a guy where the talent and the excitement level drops off because Lattimore's out of the game. I'm talking about a guy that really puts the pressure on the defense and can be a complement to Marcus Lattimore, not just a fill-in for Marcus Lattimore. That's why I have him as a step-up guy on the list. And he came back for his senior season. A lot had been made about that last year. So is he going to be able to really step up and take advantage of those opportunities? And another guy, the last guy I have on my list as a step-up guy, a new star in the making, is Brandon Shell. A big-time recruit, a huge kid. You're talking about 6'6", 330 pounds, nephew of former Raider coach Art Shell, a kid out of Goose Creek, another local boy out of South Carolina. He finally gets his time to shine on the offensive line. You're going up against a kid in Jadeveon Clowney every single day in practice. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm really looking for him to come out and be the anchor of the offensive line. And speaking of Brandon Shell, we got a chance to catch up with him after a practice here a couple days ago. And here's what he had to say about his new starting position and getting the football season kicked off.
Good evening, Brandon. How you doing? What did you want to accomplish this preseason? I mean, you talked about getting stronger. That was sort of an off-season thing, I would think. What did you want to do this preseason, and do you feel like you did it?
I was just trying to get better as a player and get better as a team player and just work on.
So? How do you want to get better?
I just really wanted to work on my weaknesses and just try to become a stronger player in pass protection.
How much has the pass protection been a big deal for you this fall? I know at Goose Creek you run it 50 times a season, or pass it 50 times a season.
Oh yeah, it's been a real big deal because in high school, I never really pass block. But now I'm coming to the college level, trying to learn how to pass block against bigger and faster guys. At first it was kind of a struggle, but I think I'm slowly working my way into becoming a good pass blocker.
Did you guys pass block at all, or did you just run block even on the rare passing play?
Yeah, we run block. We did play action. So basically run block.
As a guy whose memory of his true freshman year is not too far in the past, I mean, you remember what that whole experience was like. To see a guy like Jarrell Adams coming in, and now classes haven't started yet, obviously, and they started today, but how impressed have you kind of been with the way he's been able to grasp everything, and he's going to play?
Jarrell Adams, he's a good guy, he's a good player, but, I mean, that's not my choice, so what's going to happen? I mean, like if he's out there making plays, like in a couple of scrimmages, he make plays in the scrimmages and everything. So
I guess my point
player.
kind of was, what's the biggest challenge to getting on the field as a true freshman? I mean, you redshirted. It was a good thing for you, but how overwhelming is the whole experience with everything?
Like, well, you asking like how is it like? How hard is it to get on the field as a freshman?
Yeah, or just to even play football and balance everything out with class.
I mean, it's just like you gotta really like, you know, like you gotta be focused. Like like myself, like I didn't come in like as focused as I wanted to be. Like I was focusing like on like the stuff that I didn't need to focus on. And like you just got to be more focused on playing, and you got to be like in shape, and you got to come in like ready to play. And that's the biggest thing that like you playing as a freshman. You just got to come in ready to play.
You're going to be the first string left tackle going into this game next week, and Sean had said, you know, he's really looking forward to seeing you in a game. He has no snafus, no hang-ups with any snafus you have or anything like that in your technique right now. You need to play. I mean, how slow is this next week going to go for you, considering, you know, you're going to know you're going to play?
I'm actually just ready to get on the field and go full speed and see how good I am against other people. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
It seemed like forever since you played in a
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's been a long time since January. Last time I played in the full game.
But you though, I mean, you weren't playing in those games. You didn't play. You didn't play in the games to the end of your senior year, right?
Yeah, in my senior year. Yeah, it's been a long time, but you know, like this practice last year was more like a game. Me going against people I went against. So, you know, I'm just ready to get like a real actual game environment.
Yeah. Have you watched much Vandy stuff with the defensive end you're going to be going against?
Yeah, we watch a lot of Vandy film. Like that's all we've been doing. When we started last week, and that's all we're doing now, watching Vandy film. So you know, I'm studying the kid.
Who's that guy you're matched up against?
I don't really know his name, but he's number 92. So.
Is he any good?
Huh?
Is he any good?
You gotta see him on Thursday.
From what you've seen, I mean, that's your first assignment, right? I mean, this is your first, like, test, as it were, right? I mean, you're the first guy you're going against. So you making it a point this week to know everything about that guy?
Yeah, I'm trying to, like when we in field room, like, I'm just looking and studying, like, what he does, like, when it's a short field, what he does when it's the field wide to my side. I'm checking, like, the way if he leans or not. I'm trying to watch everything to see so I can get like a counter attack to everything.
You have to kind of be careful a little bit, not to get yourself too hyped up about this, and to remember there are going to be some road bumps for you. I know you're not thinking the negative terms, but realistically.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of just ready to play. Like, you know, like we all get goosebumps. Well, we all get like jitters before every game. I think I'm gonna have a little jitters before the game, but after like the first snap, I'll probably be good. That's the normal.
All right, so there's a little bit of Brandon Shell right there. You can tell he's ready to play, and you don't always think about that with these seniors, high school seniors, especially when they redshirt. It could be, you know, over a calendar year before they've even gotten to participate in a daggum football game. So you can tell he's ready to go. He sounds very confident. You heard him talking about the defensive end for Vanderbilt. He just said, you know what, we'll just have to see. He's not giving anything away, and I'm really excited to see what he's able to do this year. Stay with us right here on the Carolina Crowline. When we come back in, a little over, under, and then we get into Vanderbilt. All right, welcome into the Carolina Crowline as we are rolling along. Phone number is 803-450-0086 to jump on the phone lines. Tweet us at Carolina Crowline, hashtag Crowline, or you can jump on our Facebook page, like us on Facebook, and you can also email us. We encourage you to email us, carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com. That is YALL.com. We love fan interaction. It makes the show what it is. It makes it go. I don't like to sit here and ramble along for an entire hour. Let's get some opinions and interactions going on. It just makes for a good time. All right, jumping in to the next segment of our program, I got a little over and under for you. I just went ahead and took some players and took some stats from last year and just kind of compiled some new predictions for the 2012-2013 football season, specifically with Lattimore, Shaw, Clowney, Coach Spurrier, and, believe it or not, Alshon Jeffrey. So we're going to play a little bit of over-under right now. And I'm going to give you what I think, yes or no, over or under on these stats. Let's kick it off with Marcus Lattimore. Marcus Lattimore had a heck of a freshman campaign, almost 1,200 yards. He had over 800 yards last year in the season, cut short by injury. And I want to go over under on Lattimore getting 1,200 yards and 250 attempts rushing the football. He got roughly 250 attempts his freshman year. And you know what? I say under on both those categories. And the reason why I say under on both those categories is for a couple different reasons. Number one, it wouldn't shock me if Marcus Lattimore himself preferred to carry the ball less here in his junior season. Why? Because he's already had one season-ending knee injury. He certainly doesn't need another one. I think that would be a tremendous hurt to his draft status. And you know how these guys are always looking ahead to the next level, whether it be high school to college or college to the pros. Big-time football going on for Marcus Lattimore in his future if he doesn't get hurt again. So I think under on both those. And I think the coaches are going to keep him healthy as well because I think that's in their best interest. So I definitely under on the 250 attempts, and I think being under on 1,200 yards is just a byproduct of that. Connor Shaw, over under 2,200 yards passing and 750 yards rushing. I'm going to go under on that as well because I think, number one, Connor Shaw is not going to want to rush the ball that much. I don't think the coaches want him being exposed like that to rush the ball that much. They just want the threat of him being able to rush enough to keep defenses on their toes. And for 2,200 yards, I think that is I just don't think he's going to get there. I think if he can average, 190 yards passing per game, he might get there, if he can do that. But he didn't do that every single game, but he just did enough to stay effective. And I think if you're effective and winning ball games, I don't really think that the stats are that important. So I'm going to go under on 2,200 yards. Plus, Alshon is gone, and we don't really know who's going to step up yet. He may get to this mark because someone may step up, but I think he's going to be spreading the ball around, and I just think they're going to try and balance it out a little bit more. And they're definitely going to be run heavy more often. So I just don't see 2,200 yards in the picture for Shaw. Clowney, over under 15 sacks and 50 tackles on the season. I'm definitely going to go over. You're talking about a guy who didn't play full-time last year and had 8 sacks, and he had 38 tackles without full playing time last year. So I definitely think he's going to get over 15 sacks and 50 tackles. I don't really have a scientific explanation other than the dude's a freak, and he's been practicing for a year. He knows where he needs to be. You heard him make comments last year about how he didn't really even know what was going on half the time. He was just kind of see football, get football. Now he's got that in between his ears area of the game figured out, so I think I'm expecting him to bust out big time this year. Steve Spurrier, over under, does he get the 9 wins that he needs to be the number 1 coach in all-time wins here at the University of South Carolina this year? I say most definitely. When you look up and down this schedule, I definitely think 9 wins is pretty much a lock, especially when you talk about Wofford, Tennessee, Kentucky, UAB, Vanderbilt. That's almost half of them right there, right off the bat. And you're not even talking about a Missouri team that's in the league for the first year. You're talking about a Florida team that still isn't sure who their quarterback is or what they're going to do offensively. You know what the record's been against Clemson the last 3 years, so most Carolina fans are feeling pretty darn good about that one. as well. So I'm going to go over on Steve Spurrier getting the 9 wins that he needs to be number 1 in all-time wins here at the University of South Carolina. And the final over-under is Alshon's stats from last year, 762 yards and 8 TDs. Is there going to be someone, a single individual, to rack up those kind of statistics here in the receiving corps for the University of South Carolina? I say no. I say there's going to be so many options with Rory Anderson, Jarrell Adams, if he gets on the field, D.L. Moore, D.D. Smith, Marcus Lattimore is a strong pass catcher out of the backfield, Ace Sanders, Nick Jones, Bruce Ellington, Demir Bird, the list goes on and on and on, and Connor Shaw is going to be that distributor of the football, so I don't think there's going to be anybody that racks up the kind of stats that Alshon Jeffrey was able to compile last year, let alone the stats he was able to compile in his record-setting year the year before that. Stick with us right here when we get into Vanderbilt, finally, the day we've all been waiting for right here on Carolina Crowline.
Friday at 5, man, I work, but I don't climb. Boss man can shove that overtime up his can. All I wanna do is put a drink in my hand. To fill it up, I'll throw it down.
Want to hear the sound of hassle-free traveling? Amtrak takes the hassle out of traveling to over 500 destinations. You can stretch out in a spacious seat, relax in a sleeping car, and enjoy a hot meal in the dining car. And for those who want to kick back and take in the scenery, go right ahead. For everything you get on Amtrak, the one thing you won't get is this. So whether you're going to a family reunion or an away game, make it a whole lot nicer on Amtrak. Book your trip today at Amtrak.com or call 1-800-USA-RAIL.
All aboard! Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
We scoop the boot, dutycalls.com. When nobody else will do it, dutycalls.com. To make that dog poop go away, call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to dutycalls.com now.
DOODYCALLS. Dutycalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number 1 and number 2.
All right, welcome into the Carolina Crowline. We are putting a bow on the first edition of the 2012 Carolina Crowline. I know it's been a long time coming, Gamecock Nation, but I am back, ready to bring you everything that we love and know about Gamecock football right now, but we're going to get into baseball and basketball later in the year. But right now, it's 110% all about football, and that, my friends, is a good thing. We're going to get into a little bit of Vanderbilt now, and I'm going to queue up some stuff, a post-practice interview about James Franklin. I want you to listen, and the reason why I chose this, because I want you to listen how he talks about his program and what his team needs to do. You talk about a Vanderbilt team that has never had back-to-back bowl seasons. Vanderbilt obviously coming off a bowl last year, so that leave something to be said about what's going to happen for Vanderbilt this year. And last year they were 1-5 in games that were decided by 7 points or less. So you're talking about a team that is able to hang with the big boys, but just a team that needs to learn how to finish, a team that needs to learn how to close. And you're going to hear Coach Franklin talk about specifically what kind of characteristics his team needs to be successful this season. Here's Coach.
Thoughts on the morning session? How do you feel with that in the afternoon?
Yeah, I think overall it was good. There's a lot of learning going on out here. We need to get more mentally and physically tough. I mean, that's what our practices are designed to do. Make the practices as challenging as possible so the games would be easy, be really demanding on the kids, teach them how to fight through adversity. The best teams, in my opinion, are the ones that are most mentally and physically tough, and that's what we got to learn to do. And we're getting there, but we got to keep pushing.
This 2-minute drill, one of those things where you really preach that mental aspect and kind of keep focused for pressure situations.
Yeah, because it's late in the game. That's when you are tired and worn down, and you got to find a way to finish. And that's a difference between last year's season, and having a good year but not having a great year. Learning how to finish. So that's what we're trying to teach every day out here.
What's your schedule right now for prep work on South Carolina when you guys start looking at their film and going directly after them to practice?
We're pretty much done, looking at them. We've done that all summer long. But we'll start about 2 weeks out. I think next Wednesday or next Thursday, we'll start on South Carolina and get about a week and a half to 2 weeks at the most head start on those guys.
I think 2 weeks is tomorrow.
Well, then it'll be a week and a half. It'll be a week and a half, yeah.
All right, so there's just a little bit from Coach James Franklin. You're talking about a guy who's very intense, a guy that is just really trying to rebuild the image of the Vanderbilt program. You talk about a guy, look, I said this at the top of the show, these cats are pushing all their chips to the center of the table right off the bat because you got a big-time program in South Carolina. There wasn't too long ago when we could even say those words, big-time program in South Carolina. You've got a big-time program, a top 10 ranked program coming into your stadium. First game of the season, national TV. And I tell you what, you definitely don't want to look stupid in front of everybody on national TV. So James Franklin, behind closed doors with his team, he has been drumming up this game for months now. 4 months. Ever since the schedule came out and they knew we were on the first game of their schedule, he has been making it his mission to get everybody passionate. The city, the fan base, the students, especially the players and the coaching staffs, they are ready to go. And if you don't believe me, just go over to their website, take a look at their videos. You're talking about the YouTube video of fullback Mark Pano getting the walk-on, getting the full scholarship. You talk about the video they released back in the spring about the walk-on tryouts. This guy is media savvy. Every opportunity he has at SEC Media Days, he talks about Vanderbilt football and what it is and the proud nature of the program and being tough and competing 100%, play in and play out. These guys are not your old Vanderbilt. But with that said, I still don't think they're a team that can challenge South Carolina. I do not think they're a team that's going to challenge in the East. Certainly, they may come up with some surprise victories, but I definitely don't think it's going to be South Carolina. You talk about the game right now. South Carolina is a 7-point favorite going into Nashville there at 7 o'clock. Jordan Rodgers, little brother of Aaron Rodgers, has taken over as the full-time quarterback, a guy that when he finally did get into the lineup was very successful. However, a Vanderbilt offense that could do virtually nothing against the South Carolina defense last year here in Columbia. It was a tight game till right about halftime when Marcus Lattimore broke out for that screen pass for the touchdown, and after that, South Carolina never looked back. When you talk about Vanderbilt, they are suffering from depth issues on defense, specifically linebacker and defensive back. They are a little thin on offensive line. They've got some studs at running back. 2 running backs, the guy that was hurt 2 years ago is returning to make his impact felt, and you're talking about the kid who broke onto the scene last year. I believe his name was Zach Stacy, the SEC's top returning rusher, as a matter of fact, there for Vanderbilt. So they are going to try, in my opinion, are going to be a run-heavy team, but they definitely have some depth issues along the lines, as well as linebacker and cornerback. So I think if we have a solid offensive game plan, I guarantee that South Carolina will definitely be able to move the ball on the Vanderbilt Commodores. I tell you what, they've drummed up the blackout game. Everybody's excited about it. They've got spiffy new uniforms. They have been pointing to this game circled on their calendar for a long, long time. But I tell you what, Gamecock Nation, I just don't think it's going to be enough. As a matter of fact, I am predicting a 30-10 Gamecock beatdown of the Vanderbilt Commodores here to start off the season. And I think it will be important to get the Gamecock program off to a solid start, because we all know South Carolina's got off to some slow starts. But 30-10, mark it down. Go to Vegas. I'm Tyler Garrett, host of the Carolina Crowline. We're putting a bow on the final show. Glad to have you. Stay tuned for next week on the Carolina Crowline.